Winnie the Pooh is getting a live-action, hard R-rated slasher horror reboot in the very near future. Yeah, that's not a sentence I thought I'd be saying this morning either. What's even more surprising about all this is the fact that it actually looks like a pretty fun time. I promise I was just as confused as you guys probably are. So the official trailer for Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey was just released, and the general consensus seems to be, what the fuck is this? With the mere thought of this concept being enough for some people to write the film off immediately and disregard its complete existence. But before we get into all that, let's go over just what the hell this is and how it's happening, cause I know there's some people that see that title and thumbnail and are just completely confused. So the original Winnie the Pooh story just entered the public domain, meaning that studios can do whatever they want with the character without permission from Disney, Pooh's previous owner. So like any reasonable human being, writer and director Reese Waterfield decided to turn the beloved and family-friendly IP into a bloody gore-filled slasher where Pooh and Piglet get revenge on Christopher Robin for abandoning them in the 100-acre woods. And just right off the bat, genius fucking premise. I know a lot of people are claiming that this is ruining their childhood, but like, why? All the old Pooh Bear content still exists for you to revisit. It isn't like it's going anywhere. Like, I mean, to be fair, I was never the biggest Winnie the Pooh fan or anything, but even still, if this low-budget indie horror movie that's really only using your favorite characters in name only is ruining your childhood, then you've got some more serious issues than this film to worry about. Like, this is sort of a random example, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like if the biggest Superman fan in the world became depressed from that one movie Brightburn, just because it used their favorite character in a horror environment. Like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. I also just think this is a really creative idea. Like, before I knew about this, if you would have told me that Winnie the Pooh was entering the public domain, I'd say a studio making a horror movie on the property would have been at the bottom of my list of ideas. Right next to Bang Bros making it into a hardcore porn. I am definitely a little biased though, because I am a sucker for a good slasher movie. And I feel like good classic slasher films just don't exist anymore. And no, I'm not talking about the countless reboots of the classics, or the new idea for slasher movies that pretty much just make them action flicks that usually shy away from the gore and basically follow more of the ideas of a home invasion movie, more than a slasher. You see, to me, a true slasher has a unique premise and setting that fully makes use of its small budget. A true slasher never shies away from its gore and tries to have each kill outdo the last. And probably most importantly, a true slasher has an iconic and immediately recognizable face behind the carnage. And who's more iconic than Winnie the Pooh? I mean, a lot of people, but you get the point. It really just seems like Blood and Honey is going to check every single one of these boxes and give weirdos like me a truly nostalgic and lovable homage to one of my favorite subgenres of horror. Plus, I also love seeing such a low-budget B-movie get so much attention. Like, this shit kind of feels like it's got some Robert Rodriguez vibes or something going on with it, just with the fact that it's so cheap but still getting so heavily talked about. It's reminded me of when like news stations were talking about the Sharknado films on national TV. I mean, just look at this poster. If this doesn't belong in the bottom of a $5 movie bucket at Walmart, I don't know what does. But now, as much as I love sticking up for this movie because I know it pisses people off, I'm not gonna sit here and say that the film looks absolutely perfect. I mean, you can definitely feel that micro budget in just the small amount of footage that we've seen so far. Although I will say, and I'm not trying to stick up for the movie because I know that this wasn't on purpose, that super cheap feel does sort of lend to the fear factor and makes the film just that much more uncanny. Like, no amount of fancy CGI or expensive animatronics could have made those Piglet and Pooh masks any more unsettling than they already are. But, unfortunately, there are other characters in the film besides these antagonists. And I mean, nothing against these guys, but I'm just not too familiar with their work. And from what it looks like, the majority of their stuff that they've been in hasn't been the best, to say the least. But again, giving the benefit of the doubt, I've been surprised by plenty of no-name actors before, so I'm not holding it too much against the movie. And then there's the director. Oh boy. If Reese Waterfield didn't ring any bells when I said it earlier, don't feel bad. Given that this is his first movie he's directing, I'd say that makes perfect sense. I do have to fucking respect it though. I mean, your first movie, the first real chance you have at showing your hand as a director, and you choose to make this for whatever reason, just good shit, Waterfield, good shit. Also, I just had to bring this up, he's got like 5 movies coming out this year. Yeah, this year that's already almost halfway over, and I mean, just look at these names. My 8-year-old self would be proud knowing there's a man bringing masterpieces like Demonic Christmas Tree to our televisions. But with all these negatives, it is easy to see why people would automatically associate Blood and Honey with some shit that they'd see on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I was partially in that same boat, or at least I was until that trailer came out. It made me realize quite a few things, like first and foremost, the movie actually looks pretty decent. Now of course this is just a trailer and I might end up being completely wrong and the movie ends up just like another Shark Night 3D, but I can't lie to you guys, and if I'm telling the truth, then this just looks like a really fun time. This teaser did genuinely surprise me, and I think that even for the skeptics out there of this film, that they'd at least find a little enjoyment in it in some way. But with that being said, I keep getting the sense that people are spreading hate just because they don't want to give it even the slightest chance. And I think the biggest reason why this bothers me is because I just feel bad for these brand new directors and actors that are already being so heavily judged on a project just because it doesn't align with the general audience's preconceived notions of what a Winnie the Pooh movie of all things is supposed to be. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd completely understand, but I mean, I think if they're seriously passionate about bringing this premise to life and genuinely are looking to give audiences a fun time, more power to them. I don't believe that every movie that comes out needs to try for mass appeal or attempt to win big at award season. Film as a whole would literally be nothing if it wasn't for projects like these with talented creators who have a fun idea and just want to share that idea with the world. So, do I think this film will be good? No, of course not. What are you, fucking stupid? But I mean, obviously you can't go into a movie like this with those expectations. So I mean, as long as me personally, I get a fun, bloody, true-to-fashion slasher that takes his premise just seriously enough, you can count me in for the ride. But I think my final statement, the most important thing to remember about all this is, if the movie comes out and it does suck ass, I never made this video.